And I was going to say, going back to when we look at Florida and Texas, one of the things that I don't want Georgia to do is to not learn from Florida and Texas mistakes. Florida moved on legislation when it came to the gun legislation after Parkland happened. And I'm from Broward County. I'm very familiar with Parkland. I'm very familiar with Douglas, Stoneman Douglas High School. One of the things too that, from a biblical standpoint, the Bible says that when Jesus was looking at a crowd of people, and he asked his disciples, how much money do we have in the bank? And they said, we only have 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. And what is that amongst so many? And Jesus' response was, give me the 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. This takes political courage, right? It takes political courage and it takes creativity. And one of the things that even I'm thinking about, like how we talk about how we create these tax incentives for people. Why not starting at the very beginning of the door when people purchase guns, to be able to work with the gun sellers, and to be able to sell or give away gun locks at the purchase of a gun. The pawn shops, the selling of guns, like to make sure that when you actually purchase a gun, that they're giving you a gun lock, and maybe that's a tax incentive for that business to be able to pass out gun locks. Maybe that's another thing that we need to look at and be creative on trying to pass laws like that. Because again, we don't want to have to learn about this or have to do something about it after the fact that there's a mass school shooting.
So what you said is, let's not incentivize someone for buying these safety devices, but incentivize the businesses to distribute these safety devices.
Yeah, and we in Georgia, we have Delta. When we talk about private funding,
Delta doesn't sell safety devices.
But I'm just saying, when you talk about private funding, we have a lot of companies. I just met with Comcast 2 weeks ago. Comcast was meeting with us about churches and trying to install Wi-Fi in churches, but we had this long conversation about what churches need, right? There are businesses that are out here that want to do things in their community, like Delta, like Comcast, like all these other businesses, to be able to work with them and say, hey, you know what, let's try to raise money and help the state raise money to be able to give guns locks at the purchase of a gun with the gun owners, with the gun sale places, with the pawn shops.
I absolutely love that idea. You got